Hi. It's so great to talk to you. I had the chance to watch Love Brooklyn over the weekend and I was sat, I was ready to enjoy, and I loved it so much. So, congratulations on an amazing performance, first of all. I really
Thank,
enjoyed it. Yeah.
thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We put our hearts and souls into it, and I really wanted to make something for the community and for us that felt like adult and contemporary and like cool. So I'm glad you dug it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, something that immediately stood out to me was Roger's drive and vulnerability and how it's displayed throughout the film. And I feel like he puts so much pressure on himself to be the best in his work. And he's also searching for balance and broadening his horizons and exploring art like Casey does. So, my first question for you was, how did you navigate playing someone who is caught between their ambition and their vulnerability?
What a great question. I feel like in a lot of ways, Roger's a lot like me because that is where I would find myself caught between. I'm yeah, very very ambitious and also like um, anxious all the time and always second guessing myself like he does. So it felt very natural. I think when I first read the script back in 2019, that was one of the first things that grabbed me is that I felt like while most of my career I've been playing like doing in like period pieces and like really complicated emotional characters, this finally felt like something that I could just slide into and like be more of who I am, like I'm much more I think relaxed and maybe funny than than people imagine me to be. So it felt like a very kind of natural fit on his part.
Yeah, it definitely felt like I was just watching friends talking to each other, and it didn't feel too much like acting as I feel like a lot of films are. It felt like real and more authentic than
Yeah,
a lot of things I've seen. So that's good.
thank you.
Yeah. So I was also thinking about how in the film, like Roger's torn between different kinds of love, and how with Casey, it's a past connection. And with Nicole, she's someone that keeps him at arm's length while raising her daughter. So I was interested in hearing what really interested you into playing and exploring that push and pull between intimacy and boundaries and kind of timing and kind of like who's the right person at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, the movie came along at a time when I was dealing with a very similar thing, trying to figure out. I mean, I wasn't mad like Roger, but I was trying to figure out what the relationship that I was in and was it working, and trying to. We all asked those questions. I think come to that place. So it felt again like really natural and easy to slip into that because it was something that was like really happening for me. And then I think I really appreciate what you said about the like kind of chemistry and like the way it felt natural and like friends talking. What's really cool about the movie too is that it was friends talking. So like Nicole, DeWanda, and I have known each other forever. We all like went to school around the same time and came up doing New York theater together, and have always wanted to work together. Nicole and I, especially, like we have kind of been circling each other since school. Hoping that we'd have a chance to make something together. And then even with the rest of the cast, it was like just phone calls to friends. That was basically our casting process was calling people and asking if they would join us. So Cassandra Freeman, who plays Lorna, went to like she and I went to college together and grad school. Cara Patterson, who plays oh, sorry, we're just pulling over for a second. Who is in the movie too. Cara and I went to school together. Jack Haven, I've known forever. Like, it's really Roy Wood Jr. grew up in Birmingham where I grew up. So it really was like a group of friends coming together to make something. So I'm glad that chemistry came through.
Yeah, I love that. I love just being able to bring your community and the people that you know that you're going to get along well with anyway and just make a great project. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of the movie was seeing Roger's relationship with Nicole's daughter. And obviously, that's a very complex one for a lot of different reasons. And I saw that, Nicole's daughter kind of at the beginning at least sees Roger as a sort of father figure. I say that really lightly, but also really struggles with what that means to her in her childhood. So, what did those scenes reveal to you about Roger's, I guess, readiness or unreadiness for responsibility, especially since his relationship with Nicole is so undefined in so many ways?
Yeah, that is one that a lot of people have asked and have responded to is particularly there's that scene in the park where Roger is spending time with the child alone, and it's really sweet, but also so many people have said, he's not doing a very good job. He's not paying attention to the child. She's just running off. I think, it is interesting to see the ways in which Roger, uh, although he is, in his early 40s, hasn't really has no idea how to deal with the child or like what that entails. There's a kind of like, he hasn't had a lot of responsibility in his life. So which I think is important in the movie because it signals that he has a lot of growing up, a lot of maturing to do. And by the end of the movie, when we see him leaving, well, not to give anything away, but by the end of the movie, when we see him where he is, um, I think that he's starting that process of maturing. Like it's important to me that the movie not feel like just like a love triangle about a guy trying to pick between this woman and that woman. It's it's really him, I think, coming to the place where he's finally choosing himself in a sense. And by that, I mean choosing to like do the work he has to do in order to grow up and to be in relationship with before you can be in relationship with anybody.
Absolutely. Oh, I think that's so important, especially, the times that we're living in. He clearly is very focused on his career in a lot of ways too. And it's hard to have that balance if you're not ready. So it's definitely okay for it to kind of end the way that it does. I think it's a little bit more realistic that way too.
Yeah, definitely.
So a lot of the big themes in this film is kind of like Brooklyn's so-called evolution and how it's really changed over the years. And, it has to do with gentrification and everything. So I was really curious, especially considering how the film also shows Casey and her art gallery and how that environment has changed. And, people are grappling with spaces disappearing or being altered in some way. So, how do you see that theme of permanence versus change playing out in the film and both Roger's world and in Brooklyn today? Because I know you're very rooted in New York.
Yeah, I'm very rooted in New York and specifically in Brooklyn and specifically in Bed-Stuy. And I think in this neighborhood, I see it happening like at light speed. Tompkins Avenue. I don't know how familiar you are with the neighborhood, but Tompkins Avenue, there used to be like places that I would go to all the time, like Bedfine and Lovers Rock, and there were all these spaces where Black folks could get together and yeah, hang out and be together. And I think I probably took for granted that those places would always be there, but now both of those places are gone. So many places are gone, and many are under threat of being pushed out at this point. And what's replacing it is, um, indicative of like a changing community. And I think on its surface, people can say, well, it looks nice and it's cute. And, this is like a kind of evolution. But I think for the people on the ground who live here and who've been here, it doesn't feel that way. It can feel like erasure. And so, yeah, it felt really important to me to, if we're going to tell the story about Brooklyn, to in some way at least acknowledge that it's not just the kind of utopia, where everyone's happy and getting along and things are going the way they're supposed to go, but that actually there are a lot of people here who are in a very real like fight for their lives and for their existence. And while the movie isn't squarely about that, it's a theme that I wanted to at least start to draw out or point to as a part of like the conversation around the movie. So yeah, it's happening every day. And I think despite that, Alyssa, like there are still many people who are here in the community who are organizing and who are working together to try and like help people stay in their homes and also, help people start businesses and to just really have a say in what the community is going to be like going forward. And those people, I think, deserve to be celebrated. And I hope they see themselves reflected in the movie and that they feel proud of it. And I hope they also can just go and have a cute date night, which is a part of what we want to do, is to make a movie that feels like go out with your person or single or with your family if you want to and enjoy watching the movie together. That feels really important and kind of like a thing that I hope we go back to.
I love that. And yeah, I really resonate a lot with what you're saying because I'm based in Philadelphia and we're having a lot of changes right now and things where like you said, like things that we thought would always be there are actually disappearing and I totally resonate with that a lot. I'm in New York back and forth. My best friend lives there. But yeah, there's so many parallels in a lot of major cities where it's really changing in our world and it's hard because we're so there's so much nostalgia rooted in these spaces and like you were saying like spaces where the black community can get together it's so hard
It
and
is.
adapting is that's like the worst thing for me. I'm the worst at adapting to change. you
Yeah,
know I'm just like no, like I used to be able to do this anytime I wanted and now it's limited to me now and it's the worst and it keeps happening and so many aspects of our lives now so
it's
it's
true.
crazy. It's so this film is so relevant to the world we live in right now and I think it's perfect timing for everyone to be able to see it and something for me is I always want to ask when people go see this you're saying like people going out and seeing the movie together and that sense of community what do you hope people can carry with them after seeing this film about love and Brooklyn or even just about themselves and like personal growth.
Yeah. Well, I think, this journey towards like being honest with oneself is something I hope people can take from it. I think for men especially, sometimes we struggle. I've struggled, with that like sense of really sitting with yourself and not just avoiding things and making yourself busy, which I'm very good at doing, but rather like being able to sit alone in a room with yourself and your own thoughts and make peace, make friends with the parts of yourself that feel messy. I think is something that the movie is like asking people to consider. So I hope folks walk away with an openness to doing that. And I think more than anything, I hope people enjoy themselves when they come and see the movie. So many folks have said, along the way that they don't think there's an audience for a movie like this, or they don't like know how to market a movie like this. But I think I'm sure actually that there are so many people. I know Black people, I think, are an audience for this, but even beyond that, I think people who just are curious about love or have been in a relationship or want to be in a relationship, which is, I think, pretty much everybody, um, can like enjoy the experience of watching this film. And so I hope that people see it and like, see it in like groups and see it with like partners and really enjoy themselves and talk about it and spread the word. Cause I really, I want us to be able to continue making movies like these. And I think, how we show up and engage with it determines how many more we get to make. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. And I had something I wanted to share with you. So I do have a theater background.
Mm,
I was a journalism major in college, but I minored in theater, and I really value hearing about like filmmakers and producers and writers and like their interest in film. And I actually was watching your Criterion Collection video,
but
and
yeah.
I saw that you had recommended Pariah.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's been on my list for so long. And it was on a streamer a long time ago, and then they took it off. So I had to find it again. But I saw you had mentioned that and Raisin in the Sun, which was one of my favorite plays that I read. I took an African American theater course during my time studying theater, and I just love seeing like people's different connections to things that I love, and different ways that those films have inspired you. If you want to speak to that a little bit, just the ways in which, your roots and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I feel like I've been so inspired over the years by so many people and, you know, a lot of our movies and plays haven't gotten the recognition that they deserve. And so I think a part of my mission. Oh, there I am. A part of what I hope to do is to be able to, in whatever ways I can, shed light on other people's work. So, yeah, movies like Raisin in the Sun and Paris Blues and Claudine and Killer of Sheep. I ran into Charles Burnett actually at Black Star Film Festival just a few weeks ago, and he gave a wonderful talk. So, like, there's just so many people who've been doing great work, and I know that your platform is one that's elevating, that kind of work, and I hope that I can be of some service in my career, shedding light on other people. That also, lastly, is like the other thing about this movie that I think is really special is that, Nicole Bahari, DeWanda Wise, like I said, Cara Patterson, Say Khan, Cassandra Freeman, all of us, Roy, are friends and are part of the same kind of ecosystem. And we all wanted to have an opportunity to do something that we hadn't gotten to do. And everybody got a chance to do that. With Roy, he has said to me many times how, yeah, he's known for comedy, but that he really considers himself to be a serious actor and like is, and he's capable of doing more than that. I wanted to play like a romantic lead for a long time. And, in the industry, they said that that wasn't something that was readily available. And so I thought, well, let's create a situation where I can try. And Nicole and DeWanda have both said that they've not had a chance to play these kinds of Black women on screen. So in a way, everybody got to do something that, for the first time. And Rachel, as the director, it's her first feature. So there's something really powerful about the community coming together to create opportunities for us to try things out. So yeah, that feels very aligned to also trying to uplift and celebrate work that's come before us, and shed light in that way. So thank you for recognizing that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love making connections to like the past and the present, and I think it's such a good way to merge all of those worlds together. And like I said, this was an amazing film, and I'm so grateful that we were able to chat. And I love connecting with actors, and it's just so great to hear how passionate you are about this story in Brooklyn. And I really really appreciate the time, Andre.
Thank you so much for supporting it. I really appreciate it, and hope to talk to you again soon. And thank you for supporting the movie.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
See you later.
Thank you.